rain and snow. I don't buy it today, but that is at least what my AI was telling me this morning. Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started and dive into this. So, I'm Sarah Ross with the Community Foundation of Central Wisconsin, and I just want to welcome everybody to another Community Lunch Hour brought to you by Community Foundation of Central Wisconsin and our awesome sponsors, Century Insurance and Delta Dental. Today, we're going to focus on the impact of arts and culture in arts and culture organizations, activities, and events in Portage County. And I'm joined by an esteemed panel of expert guests. Um, and I would love to introduce them to you all, which I will do. But I just wanted to give a quick framework for what we're going to do today for those of you who have not joined the community lunch hour, is we're going to take some time and share some back and forth within our panel to give you some foundation and grounding of arts and culture here in Portage County. And at any time that you have a question or feel like there's some information you want to provide to kind of move us forward in the conversation, you can jump in on the chat. We have Kaiying, who is our community storyteller, and Azinde, who works on our comms team that can help with that. And you can also just sort of raise your hand or go ahead and interrupt a bit, and we'll make sure to get your questions or comments taken care of while we're talking about arts and culture here. All right. So welcome again, everybody. So I'm joined today by a team of folks who I have benefited from learning from and collaborating with in certainly my years here in Portage County. So we have the director of an upcoming fundraiser and performance, the Nutcracker Jazz, which we're going to talk a little bit about later, Kayla Dunn. Kayla is an alum of UWSP Theater and Dance, and she's a member of Transcribing Dance Company, an instructor with Wisconsin School of Rapids School of Performing Arts, and she's choreographed pieces for Point Dance Ensemble and many others, and is the director for the Nutcracker Jazz this year. She teaches ballet, point, jazz, modern, tap, hip hop, you name it, she can do it. We also are joined by Dr. Alex Ingersoll, who is an associate professor of media studies and is a chair or some sort of designation of that program. The lead. We did a little restructuring in the media studies program at UWSP. He teaches video production, media, theory, history, criticism, cinematography, animation, a host of other subjects. And he really champions experimental and documentary styles of film. He is the founder and presents these really amazing experimental film pieces through spectral microcinema. And I know that Alex has worked a lot with Create Portage County in finding some of those spaces to premiere some of those or present some of those films. And he's had a lot of work seen throughout venues and festivals, including Antimatter Media Arts Festival, Transient Visions Festival of the Moving Image, Oof. Athens Digital Arts Festival, and Alchemy Film and Moving Image Festival. And then we have Ben Nuz, who is the Dean of Midstate College here in Stevens Point. We now have two campuses in Stevens Point, but Ben has been with the college for several years now, where he was also teaching in the college's renewable energy technician and HVAC programs. He has a long history as well with the Midwest Renewable Energy Association as an educator and served on the board of directors. And now he is president of the board of directors for Create Portage County, which brings me over to Kristen Hubbard-Dostal, who is Create's new executive director. Kristen joined Create Portage County back in August, I believe. So we're so thrilled to have her. She had previously served as the executive director of the Epilepsy Foundation of Wisconsin, has a photography background, and generally very entrenched in many things that we do here in this community. And then we have William Sherrill joining us. William is the co-CEO of Team Sherrill Companies, is the founder of the Arts and Culture Mission Fund through the Community Foundation of Central Wisconsin, and is past president of the board for Create Portage County. William, along with many of the Sherrill family, have a history of really championing arts and culture opportunities within our community through philanthropic activities. And so we're really happy to have William here as well. All right, that takes care of the introductions. Let's get into it. First, I just wanted to get into some foundations of the impact that arts and culture has in communities. There's a lot of different reports out there for those who like to dive into the numbers. And I think today we're going to focus on a lot of the local stories, the local impact that our experts are involved in, that you may be involved in, all of our participants at this community lunch hour. But I think what does not go said enough is that arts and culture is a really significant driver of economic growth, both large scale and small scale, with those direct and indirect dollars that are coming into a community. There is a really useful well, it's through the wisconsin.gov website. You can access it there, but it's also through the Americans for the Arts as well. The Arts and Economic Prosperity 6. So each year, I think every 2 years, they do big studies on that impact of arts and culture in communities. And in Wisconsin, just even last fiscal year, we saw that the nonprofit arts and culture industry generated $933.3 million in economic activity. That's about 437 million in spending by those nonprofit arts and culture organizations, and then 492 million around in event related spending by their audiences. So both that direct and indirect spending that's happening in a community. When you're going to an arts and culture event or an activity, whether it's in the performing arts, whether attending an exhibit at a museum, you're also taking a look at those dollars of what's being spent at lunch at the nearby deli, or the gas to get to the venue, or the parking that is paid for in order to be able to have that space near wherever the event is. It's all of the tourism dollars for folks that are coming out of town to be able to engage in the activities that you're doing locally. That also includes like this big number of folks that are also being employed by these arts and culture organizations as well. And so from a statewide point of view, that industry supported 15,851 jobs and generated $190 million in local, state, and federal government revenue. So this ain't a small thing. There's really significant impact when we talk about arts and culture thriving in a community and being supported in the community. It helps with the economic growth. It helps with bringing innovation and ideas into a community, expanding the capacity for curiosity and empathy and getting to know one another because we're sharing each other's stories, and really inviting potential employers to invest in a community because there are activities that are promoting education, promoting belongingness, togetherness, and bringing that placemaking into the community. So that gives us our statewide or maybe national-wide foundation. But I want to take it over to Kristen to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the impact from Create's point of view.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sarah. We are really blessed in Portage County, and many of you probably already know that, but she's definitely right. Economic development really drives pride in our community, allows our residents really to just take ownership and be proud of what's here. And all of those, I guess, residents and or travelers that are coming into our community to support all of those arts and culture events. It really also improves quality of life. We're seeing people coming back to central Wisconsin that may have been here, maybe have left, and came back. They've missed that small town life on all of those things that they can access as a family or even, as a separate individual. We at Create are supporting our entrepreneurs and in a creative space. We do have a lot of success stories, but some people really recently that have come back to Central Wisconsin, brought their family with them, and really took the opportunity to have an office at Create within our four walls as a brick and mortar to offset some of those costs for a small business, and really have brought a lot of success for them, and have hired their first employees. So really just taking that next step for success.
And if I could add to that, it's the mission of Create Portage County to accelerate creativity, connection, and collaboration to advance vibrant and welcoming communities. And in that regard, we're not a traditional arts organization, right? We are not just supporting art for the sake of art, but we're supporting art with a purpose. And that purpose is really about belonging. It's about creating that vibrancy. And so oftentimes, the economic benefits are not the goal, but they are the natural consequence of creating vibrancy within the community. So for us, it's really about placemaking. And so I'd see kind of like the work that we do result in four key things, right? One is just community cohesion. When we create vibrant events or vibrant happenings or vibrancy on painted murals, people come to them, right? And that does create some community cohesion and this sense of belonging. It also, I think, reduces some isolation. I think we're still rebounding from COVID. I saw, I don't know, someone post on social media today, what happened to Stevens Point? And I wanted to just respond, like, we're as great as it's ever been. Like, walk outside and take a look at what's happening. And I think that it encourages people to reduce isolation. It also fosters the sense of community identity. When we talk about what is Portage County, what is our community, I think also and culture are what draw all that together. And then that fourth benefit of placemaking, it does end up being economic impact. And that is where we can see what that impact is locally. Arts and culture make up about 5% of GDP to begin with, but that's oftentimes indirect spending. And Sarah, as you were mentioning, oftentimes it's indirect spending as well. But ultimately, our goal is to make our community a magnet. And that means either a magnet for those that are raised here to stay here, to stick here, or those that visit here to want to come back to this space, or those that have never heard of the space to be drawn towards it.
And if I could just expand on that ever so slightly, because I think as we're talking about the economic impact, several years ago, that it was really coined as the creative economy. So that as people are reflecting on that and go, oh, arts, that's just galleries, that's just shows. Actually, the impact is really the creative economy, which expands to marketing firms, video game development, all of that, your carpenter, all of those things really develop into a full creative economy around a community. So I think that economic impact can also be talked about even larger than typical standard ways of looking at it. That, if you just think about where is the creative really happening, radio is a prime example, television. I always remind people, like, every time you look at television, it's usually an actor producing that, and that is an economic power of the arts or creativity. We always kind of forget about those things, that is really artists doing all of that work that make us laugh, make us cry, and make us have emotional reactions to things.
So when we're talking about the work of Create, I wanted to get some sort of specifics as that creative hub, that placemaking. What are we seeing there in terms of the impact of Create in some of the programs that y'all are supporting or initiating or partnering with?
Gosh,
Go ahead, Ben. Yeah.
Where to start? One of the questions that is out there is like who benefits from Create in the programs and the activities that we have, right? So one is I think to benefit the artistic community, and as William said, right, this creative economy. And oftentimes what we're doing is we're asking those artists or those creatives or those engaged in that economy, like, what are your needs? And so I think there's kind of like three ways that we support this community. One is with the physical space. So Kristen is currently in the Idea Center, which is the current home of Create Portage County, but we are about to move into a new space, into the old convent site very soon. Very soon we'll be over there. And a ton of gratitude to the Community Foundation of Central Wisconsin as being the major grants award donor. We are still in the midst of that capital campaign, but it is going to be a dynamic, vibrant space. And so we're so excited to welcome you all in. So sometimes you need that physical space. And that space can be all sorts of things. It can be a recording studio that we're putting in there. It could be the maker space. It could be a co-working space. It can be a gathering in community spaces. Sometimes you just need a physical location. So we have a space, and we have a space that is dedicated to arts and culture. The other may also be that of markets. So some of our programming is specifically organized to help those artists, whether it's a holiday makers market or arts walk and the night market, about providing artists with the exposure. And sometimes it's those opportunities. I think of some of the work we did with murals, and Jessie Frisch, who's now done several murals. Her first mural was the Ruth Bader Ginsburg mural, and she worked in caustics and didn't work ever in murals, but because of COVID, couldn't go to the normal markets that she was at, and so we were able to support in that way. And then I think the final thing that artists in that community needs is just the active community. And that is through events and experiences that we can support. And whether that's something like Mass Guitar Incident or Make Music Day, or draw meetups where you can do a figure drawing, and you can do that in that space, or like a multiplayer game night. So we support through those community experiences as well.
One of my first exposures really to Create Portage County was in that placemaking bit of just having a location for spectral microcinema. So Alex had arranged and had worked with Create in order to just have a viewing for these experimental short films. I think it was yeah, one of the first folks that I met, that was the thing that she tagged me along to go see, and I was kind of hooked. I wonder, Alex, if you could talk a little bit about being that artist, being that producer in a community, and get that perspective with with our community specifically, that kind of impact.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, just at the top, it's been wonderful to be in a community that can support crazy ideas that I'm generally interested in, and that makes it a lot more fun and doable and functional. Yeah, prior to being in Stevens Point, I was originally from the Midwest, but traveled outwards from there. I was most recently in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and then Boulder, Colorado before that. And in a lot of these other places that do have a very active, vibrant art scene, it's a different type of environment. It's often noisier. There's certainly a lot, but there's a lot lost in the shuffle that way. And so I think what's wonderful about a community and county of our scale is that if someone is doing something, it's usually because they can't do anything else. They just need to do this thing. And it's very intentional, it's very authentic, and it stands out for all the right reasons. And so I think the signal to noise scale here is far better compared to a lot of other places. And so having something like Create to support that is really wonderful. And I think what I've found very gratifying, being someone who just has to make things or operate in kind of an artistic space, is the way in which this seems to strike a good balance, offering up that level of authenticity for audiences. Audiences are incredibly smart, and you kind of have to respect that. And I think inherently with art and culture, it's about being part of a conversation. There's meaning and meaning making there, and audiences can sniff out the inauthentic very, very quickly. And so to be able to balance that and to have spaces and openings and pieces that feel real, allow for you to kind of enter into a space that feels like you're in an opening, right? That you're kind of, and that's what's wonderful too, is even having my students participate with Create in a variety of ways, is you kind of forestall some of the economic logistical stuff, right? Which, yes, we live in a very economically driven world. You have to be able to keep the lights on, you have to be able to pay for materials and facilities, yada yada. But in many ways, it's nice to have something that can forestall that, so we have this opening of like a shared experience, right? Where you can kind of ignore that for a moment and feel like you're getting away with something. And that's very real. And while you guys were talking, there was a quote that I pulled up that I found recently that really hit me hard. Was the filmmaker Guillermo del Toro at the British Film Institute a couple of weeks ago was asked about like the value of AI and art and culture recently, and he had this great quote that I now use in a lot of spaces. This is from late September, where he noted that the value of art is not how much it costs and how little effort it requires, it's how much you would risk to be in its presence. And I think it's just beautifully poetic in a way of, offering up these spaces for people to feel like, there was labor involved, there's intent, there's meaning, there's authenticity. This is a risky endeavor, and it's here now. It won't be here in the future, and I think there's real value to that. So that's just a little bit of thoughts on that front.
That's wonderful. And that quote, I really resonates with my own experiences as well. But to speak back to Alex, that scale piece that you're talking about, um, I had also been working, and this is specifically in the performing arts and Research Triangle Park near, that includes sort of Chapel Hill area, and that noise, but also the the need to just survive that competitive edge, in order to keep the lights on, in order to thrive, in order to grow. And there are lots of awesome collaborations. There's a lot of awesome resource sharing in that part of the world. But I do find it particularly poignant here in the size of our community here within Portage County. Um, the necessity to be able to do that resource sharing, that necessity to be able to rely on the talents of many, in order to do these really remarkable things that we're seeing within that umbrella of the creative economy of arts and culture, activity, and events. And one such endeavor, I this year I've just started to get to know and started to see the process of, is this Nutcracker Jazzed opportunity, where you have a whole group of different organizations and folks from different parts of arts and culture industry coming together to do one performance. And I can't stress, from someone who has a background in at least the performing arts aspect, that is a really difficult thing to do. Collaborations are hard work, and it's not the easiest way to get stuff done. But often, if it is a good collaboration, it certainly will produce the best results. It will produce the best experience. And if you really do have awesome collaborators, it will produce the best process. So I'd like to bring Kayla to the front here to talk a little bit about this upcoming performance, the Nutcracker Jazzed. What is it? Where did it come from? Why are we doing it? All of that.
Absolutely. So, Nutcracker Jazzed was not always Nutcracker Jazzed. It started as Toast to the Arts, Toast to the Nutcracker, and that was just this big collaborative event. And it just has evolved into this Nutcracker Jazzed, where a whole bunch of community organizations, whether they're arts organizations, we have Boys and Girls Club. We also have just individuals within the community who aren't exactly affiliated with a specific organization. They are all joining us, and it takes everybody, it takes all this collaboration to bring this production to stage. It's a lot of work. We have ages 6 to, adults. Just it's a whole bunch of people. And yeah, it just, we're bringing it back. It's been gone since, 2019, when COVID came. So we're excited to be bringing it back on November 16th and 17th. Um, Gosh, there's just so much to say about it. It's just an amazing opportunity for us to come together as a community within this art and production. And I'm so lucky, I feel, to be a part of it, to be the ringleader. And it just makes me so excited to share this with our community. Um, I'm trying to think there. It's just a lot of work and it's great. And I'm
I,
excited for it. It's really
I
great.
think I think one of the things for me is that production, because it is primarily youth driven as youth dancers and performance, that they are producing in a contemporary version of the traditional Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker. And there is some text messaging that goes on during the performance, and all of the music has been converted to jazz music. But coming back to is that it is the dance studio's collaborative work, and I think it's just really wonderful when young dancers have an opportunity to perform outside of the scope of a recital for your parents. The bar gets elevated up. The bar gets elevated up when there's adults from the community who are coming in, and they're interacting with adults, not necessarily in the apparent role, but in a role that is in the community, in a rehearsal, in the back in the dressing rooms, in the whole production, that there's a maturity level that starts to filter into their experience as young artists and young dancers, which I think is just really magical. So I think it's just a great show, and that it wouldn't happen without that effort and vision of volunteers as well as the dance community. So it's a cool thing for the holidays. Launch the holidays. Come to the Nutcracker Jazz.
So, William, can you offer just a little bit of the purpose behind this? Because it is a fundraiser. It's raising some dough for some good.
As Kayla had mentioned, that its initial concept came out of Toast to the Arts, which was a idea that, oh gosh, a bunch of us had back in, I don't even know when, many years ago, to raise money for the Arts and Culture Mission Fund. That was one of the funds that was started when back then the Arts Alliance was originally formed. There was $10,000 that we pulled out of the funds that had been originally found, basically truly found, sitting around in a fund that Jerry McKenna had found through the university and received. And we took that $10,000 and started an endowment fund, because we thought, all right, in the long term, 15, 20, 25, 50 years from now, the arts need to be supported in the community. So it started as a fund. We started the Arts and Culture Mission Fund. Toast to the Arts was that initial collaborative effort among all the arts organizations to come together for one evening, and Century Insurance at that time supported it, and Century World, and each organization performed a little bit, and it was just a sampling of all the arts organizations in the community. And then it just became more challenging to pull everybody's schedule together as arts and culture grew in the community and programming, and it just became problematic. At that point, then, Pamela Lutke, who was part of that, stepped forward in partnership with other young dancers, Kayla and other people participating, said, I've always wanted to do the Nutcracker, but let's do it with a twist. And that's how the Nutcracker Jazz kind of came to be. The fun, well, part of the marketing and things was one of the things that I will say corporately, Team Sherrill companies had supported that and got involved with that process on a biannual basis. But all the funds, always 100% of proceeds have gone to the Arts and Culture Mission Fund throughout all of those reiterations of that event. It always has supported that fund.
So we're able to, yeah, continue to contribute to the Arts and Culture Mission Fund here at the Community Foundation, and
Yes.
also into the work that Create Portage County is doing as well. Both
Yep.
organizations helping to be partners with this in the planning team, and then Create coming in with helping with that marketing, with the ticketing, and all of this stuff. So it is a, I think, as William said, it's a wonderful way to kick off the end of the year. I had just gone to see the rehearsals last Saturday, and it's lovely. Because it is, you do feel the community coming together, many talents in a room towards a single vision that Kayla put in front of those artists.
And I will
Um,
just, I just have one call out for Century Insurance, because without their beneficial donation of the theater space, so many things in our community would not take place. And this is just another prime example of their vision and generosity in the community to offer up the theater free of charge for any nonprofits use over the years has just been incredible, just absolutely incredible. So I would like to say that and give them kudos where kudos is definitely due.
yeah. Yeah, and for those who are with us today, did you know that? I mean, I think this is also a good conversation with any questions or queries that you might have about spaces in town. We have representatives here from a lot of different organizations that are using spaces in the way that they were made and the way that we're figuring out how to use more innovatively. I'm thinking about seeing one of those experimental film, those one of those evenings in the alleyway, kind of behind Midstate, and I think that was just a brilliant use of space and a really interesting way to gather the community in a sort of forgotten, hidden little spot in Stevens Point specifically, and also like the partnerships throughout the county. I'm now on the email list for Winter Williams' new place. I think, right? Am I wrong, Kristen? That was also a venue for this past film festival that Create hosted. Is that right?
It is, yes, yes.
So that was a multiple of that was different places. Who all were
Yeah,
participating in that?
absolutely. There were 4 places. We actually utilized one of the community room at one of the community rooms at the new building.
Mhm.
Not on our side, just officially yet.
Mhm.
And then, yep, Winter Williams her place. We also did the oh my goodness, I'm dropping the name, of course. Um, Great Northern Distilling, we did
Mm.
one event there as well. And really, it's just a neat place to be able to get to go to those places and experience something unique. And see people come and take ownership of a project that they've had and had this passion for. I got to see, to elaborate just a little bit, young girl about the age of 10 yesterday showed a room full of people with standing room only, her music video that she created with her dad. And she was beaming from ear to ear, and addressing a room of adults, and just answering questions, and just, you could see that she was thinking ahead, of just seeing her dreams come true as a young girl, but then also knowing like her dad is a professor at the university here in town as well, and his support of her, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, I think everybody's touched on that, being able to have places where we feel like we belong. And arts and culture opportunities, organizations, and events really provide that for us all. Um, well, I would love to make sure that we hear from our participants. If you have any questions for our guests, or any comments, perhaps some personal anecdotes of your involvement within arts and culture. It certainly is one of those industries that touches on everything else. I mean, I have, I have dear colleagues who are primarily in the healthcare industry, but they're doing that through arts programming in order to compel some understanding and knowledge in the community through that storytelling, that interactive theater. That the visual arts provide visual arts and music, and all of this provides extrasensory um, experiences in how we take in our community and how we take in each other. That's a little deeper than just conversation alone. Any questions, thoughts, ideas, things you'd like to see happen in this community? Or maybe if you aren't from this community, is this something that you have experienced, been a part of, whether it's planning, an artist yourself, or attended anything, and how did that make you feel? I'm just going to keep talking until someone interrupts me, but I did want to say I'm not from this area. I am originally from Texas, but I've lived in Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, Illinois, and I've just lived in each little spot 3 or 4 years at a time and was always looking forward to the next community, taking all the good from the community I was leaving with me. But I'm going in on 7.5 years here in Stevens Point. I think it's super weird that central Wisconsin is a place that I decided to stick around for a bit. But it is because of what all of our guests have been saying is that there's a little special sauce here to central Wisconsin in how we are creating opportunities for folks to gather and for folks to feel really like they can be a part of a community in a lot of different ways. But it is through that gathering and through those arts and culture opportunities that I have been particularly excited to see how I can get some roots here.
Yeah. No, Sarah, I mean, I'm from Milwaukee originally, so lots of arts, culture,
Oh
festivals,
yeah.
Summerfest, everything. I've been here since about 2009. I'm like the least artsy person you'll ever meet. So I appreciate all that we have to offer here in Stevens Point, because it gets me out of my shell. It gets me to go to some of these things, arts walk downtown, gets me to go to 11 amp. So I'm super grateful as a community member to have all these great opportunities and a variety of opportunities in this community.
Thanks for that, Sarah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think even as you're talking about just walking around and getting in the community with those murals, with the sculpture park, for instance, being able to take in a variety of different opportunities in the places that you want to be. And for a lot, that is in the great outdoors. But still that there is opportunity to really be a part of that storytelling that's created by artists in our community for sure.
And I just want
Mhm.
to, before you go on, I just wanted to do a call out as you were talking about the volunteers that make this all happen. That is one thing that is, I'll say, unique and maybe, I don't know, not always the best, is that there's so much of the creativity in this community that is produced and the programming that is produced by people just volunteering their time, and that it's this desire just to be creative, and that we don't have a lot of large paid organizational staff that produces these things. And I think that that's so important to remember, that I think there is that part of that special sauce is that there's just a lot of people who want to create and are willing to give their time to be fulfilled through that process. And I think that is part of, in some regard, the beauty of having, I don't work for Sentry, but I was going to say, like, having Sentry Insurance as this hub, and that was one of the things that Create looked at when we were part of evaluating the possibility of reopening the Fox Theater. And it didn't go in that direction, but we did a lot of research, and having that hub, that place that Sentry so for many decades has served for creatives to gather and be able to do their work, make such a difference in the community. And it was accessible. And I just hope that, Create, as well as other community organization and hubs throughout the county, become and continue to be those places where people can come to gather. I think of the Jensen Center in Amherst as one of those major places. And, you were just talking about the new YMCA in Waushara County. Hopefully that will be a new place, not necessarily in Portage County, but it's in central Wisconsin, that people need a physical place to gather at some point to be creative in community. So just the plug to continue to volunteer and encourage others to volunteer as well. So
there is lots of need for time. There's lots of need for gifts to be able to champion this kind of work and to make the community one for everyone, really vibrant and thriving, as all of our guests have offered. Okay, so y'all get your pencils, get your paper, write this down or type it in or something. Nutcracker Jazzed, it's coming up. We've been talking about it. It's November 16 and 17. It's at the Century Theater. And you can get your tickets now online. Azinde has put that in our chat. So we have all of these amazing talents from our community, these dancers. We have a lot of organizations that are putting towards efforts in order to get this up and going. It's going to be a beautiful event that we can all gather and appreciate. And it's really affordable. So $15 for kids, $20 for adults. You get to pick your seat, so you don't have to worry about getting there super early. We have assigned seats. It's a great venue. It's a great opportunity to share this with your friends, your family. So check it out. Check out the website. Put it on your calendars. There's also some other artists like Matthew Bookman, who's with the university. He's now chair of the School of Music, music department in the School of Performing Arts. And he has some original pieces in there. We have some recordings of those talented artists. It's really great. There's that, but then there's also more. So keep on writing stuff down. Kai-Ying, I'm going to send it over to you for what's happening in our community. Well, we got your shared screen.
All right, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, there you are.
Right, thank you. Well, we've got some great upcoming events, and so let me throw it to Ben to talk about the first one happening on November 1st.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a day-long forum or a conference. It's the Nonprofit Community Forum. It'll be hosted here at Midstate Technical College downtown campus. In the Lead Center, we've got a fantastic keynote. Leanna's coming from Milwaukee to really talk about harnessing collective energy. And so this is really an opportunity for us to gather, as William was talking about, these opportunities for us to be in the same space and to learn and grow from each other. So day-long conference, the schedule and keynote description are all posted there. Through generous contributions of the Community Foundation of Central Wisconsin and United Way of Portage County, we've tried to keep this event as affordable as possible. We have a special student rate. We also have a discounted group rate for any organization or nonprofits. It's actually cheaper for 4 people to attend than it is for 3 people to attend. So we are encouraging groups to come and learn together. We've got different tracks based on kind of where your nonprofit is at. Are you, growing or developing or thriving? So just encourage you. The link is right there. You can see the description. Check it out. But that will be on Friday, November 1st. So I hope to see you all there.
Yeah, and I'll just add, we are really excited about this from the Community Foundation. Our office is going to close for the day because a number of our staff will be attending, so I would also highly recommend this. A second conference that we at the Community Foundation are also really excited about is the Women Trailblazers Conference. Sarah, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, thank you. So it's going to be a busy week because just a few days after the Nonprofit Community Forum, of which I am attending and very excited, we have the Women Trailblazers Conference. This is the 5th year that this conference has been hosted. It will be in the Stevens Point campus, the UWSP, at the DUC, which is sort of the student union building. So this is a great conference for entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, socialpreneurs who are looking to share in a network of folks where we can feel the igniting our voices is the theme this year. It is centered on women and leadership of women in these areas. And I have been, as an attendee for the past 3 conferences, I've just been really inspired, and I've been able to meet folks that I've maintained relationships both professionally and personally at that conference. But this year, helping to plan it, we have a really incredible keynote speaker, and we have so much local talent here that is going to be filling up our breakout sessions in the afternoon. So it's not to be missed. And yeah, you can find the registration and tickets on the UWSP ticket site.
All right. And then I'm excited to talk about our upcoming community lunch hour on November 13th. This will be on a Wednesday. So it's a little bit unusual in terms of the timing, but the topic is really right on track with some of the things that are most important to us as a community foundation, and that is investing in community. And so this has been a project that was really grassroots driven and has been able to be very successful. And we've really appreciated being a partner throughout this process. So I would invite you to join us to learn more about the work that's being done and how you can get involved and help support and give to this work. Jenny, is there anything else that you would add to this?
Thanks, Kaying. We are really excited about this Waushara County YMCA. Actually, the governor just announced last week a $4.25 million grant to this, in addition to the DeMars Family Fund here at the foundation. That puts the project above and beyond what it needs to happen. And now it's really all about a pool. So it's going to be a great opportunity to hear from Ryan and the DeMars. And we hope you can join us for that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jenny. And lastly, I just want to give a shout out. In mid-November, we will be celebrating Community Foundation Week. So look out for some blasts from us celebrating all the work that we've done with you as partners in our community. So thank you very much, everybody.